welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Minnesota Rack Stars podcast. And we're doing a little summer outdoor on the deck, having a cup of coffee podcast here. It's my brother-in-law, Mike, and myself out here. And we're talking about how we're going to end our drought this year, because we've been on a little bit of a drought as far as buck harvest goes here the last few seasons. And we're going to talk about what our plans are this year to not only help ourselves end our drought, but also maybe give you guys some different ideas on how you can maybe end your drought if you've been on a little bit of drought as well. So we're out here just enjoying the sun here this morning, having a little cup of coffee, talking some deer hunting. And so I'm going to let you guys get going here. We're going to get to a few things before we get to the podcast. Make sure you take advantage of some of these codes that I'm throwing out there for you guys, and visit our apparel store. That helps us continue to kind of keep things rolling in the right direction and helps us continue to get more content out there for you guys, which we really enjoy doing. And with that, we'll let you guys get to that, and I hope you guys enjoy the podcast. Hey, if you're like us, you're getting ready for that upcoming hunting season. The one thing we always want to make sure of is that we have the best apparel possible to keep us out in the woods longer. And we've been paired up with Arctic Shield ever since the beginning. And what they want to do for you guys, the listeners, is give you a discount code to get you 20% off of everything on their website, which is arcticshieldOutdoor.com. And if you use the code RACK20, that's RACK20, you'll be able to get 20% off everything on their website. So take advantage of this offer right now. Well, if you're looking for a gift or just something for yourself, Minnesota Rack Stars related, I'll tell you what, you need to check out our clothing store that we have. The link is on our social media platforms and on our website, where you can go to it and order some sweet Minnesota Rack Stars swag and accessories. I'll tell you what, at the end of the day, when things are winding down, I'm going to put on a movie or watch some sports on TV. The first thing I do is I get into my Minnesota Rack Star sweatpants and sweatshirt, because it is so comfortable. And that's the thing, like, if you got a shirt or pants or whatever that are comfortable, you know what I'm talking about. And this fits it to a T. And I am not joking around. This stuff is so comfortable, and that's why we're going to continue to keep this store open online, because it's a great product, everything that they put out. And why don't you guys check it out? I guarantee you, you'll like what you have on. So with that, we're going to get to the podcast here. Thanks for listening. All right, welcome back, everyone. It is the morning of July 13th, and the only reason why I know that is because my birthday was yesterday. Just turned 40, Mike.
Oh, I thought you were going to say 21.
Yeah, I still feel that way, back that way sometimes, but then the next morning I'm definitely 40. Well, I'll tell you what, it's that time of year. Got some trail camera pictures that are rolling in right now.
Yep.
I'm here with Mike, Big Mike, myself. We were outside at his place. We decided to come down here yesterday. You guys you bought a house here.
Yep.
Was it a year ago?
Yeah, September. I think we closed like September 6th or something. So
we're here in central Minnesota, and the place you bought left you a pool.
Yeah. It's real nice, especially on today. I can already feel the heat on my back here. It's about 70 degrees already this morning. So
let me ask you this, because I've thought about getting a pool for my kids. How much of a pain is it to maintain?
Well, I will say, when you first get it started in the beginning, like in the summer, it takes a little while to get the chemicals right. But once you get them kind of where you need them to, it's been pretty easy to maintain. Once you figure out the concoction that you need in there, I guess you could say. And now it's just been crystal clear ever since. So, but it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's fun. The girls really love it. And it's nice when you can just go back on a day like today when it's going to be so hot, just go out and, jump in there for a couple hours and you're good to go.
Last year, I went over to Ben and Hannah's place, cousin. And the wife needed some time alone in the house, and she wanted to get the house organized and whatnot, and contact Travis and Ben and said, let's do a pool party. All right, so we went over to Ben and Hannah's. They have a nice pool, and holy Lord, I think they spent about 5 hours. Those kids spent about 5 hours in that pool, and we just kicked back the whole time and enjoyed ourselves and whatnot, but the kids just had an absolute blast in there.
Sure.
That's why we're over here today. The girls are going to do a little pool party today, and we'll kind of kick back. We got the party started last night and played some cool games. Fibbage. I don't know if you ever played that before, but it's a pretty sweet game.
That's a great game.
It's I don't know. It's kind of a fun game you do on your phone, and you make up lies, and then there's a random question, then you make up lies, and then if people pick your lie, you get points, and if you pick the correct answer, you get points. But yeah, it's a pretty fun game, and did that. Stayed up till about 12:30, and now we're up and at 'em. I said, let's do a podcast here, and our topic of the day is going to be strategies to end our drought, because we're in a little bit of a drought right now.
Yeah.
As far as buck harvest goes, and I was actually talking to a guy yesterday at a wedding reception, and he was just talking about how thick the deer are where he's at. And I said, do you know the reason why, deer numbers become so thick in areas a lot of times is because everybody sits there and focuses on shooting a buck all the time.
Sure.
And for me, I think the last 4 deer that I've shot here in Minnesota have been does.
All those.
And every time I have some, jerky or venison sausage, I'm reminded, shoot some does, because that tastes so darn good. I brought some back straps up to the lake this past 4th of July weekend here, and marinated them some teriyaki and threw them on the grill. And all I did was just threw them on the grill for 5 minutes on high on one side, flip it 5 minutes, and then just kind of let them cook by themselves yet. And holy Lord, I mean, everyone there was just like, "What is this?" That's some good stuff. That's what that is. Yeah, right. Yeah. And I didn't tell anyone, but that backstrap was from 2001 or 2021. Sorry, 2021. Nice. So yeah, I didn't let them know that, but yeah, nobody got sick.
A good chef never lets people know where they got it or when they got it. They just make it taste good. Yeah, everyone loves it.
Exactly. So I know you guys are running cameras already.
Yep.
You guys have had some interesting trail camera pictures already.
We got a good population of deer every day, but some of the unique things that we've seen on camera this year is we had 3 badgers come through, and then unfortunately we had a coyote carrying a dead fawn's head right on trail cam coming out of the woods. So that's disheartening to see that, and now it's just kind of being strategic about maybe going out and doing some trapping or making sure we're taking care of that and to keep our deer population out there healthy and safe from predators. And but it's all it's part of the game, right? I mean, when it comes down to it, you can only do so much.
I know I'm actually going to be doing a podcast here in the hopefully near future. I got a couple guys that reached out to me, and they want to do a podcast with me on predator hunting. And what they do is they go out all year round.
Sure.
Is what I'm understanding, and they use thermal imaging to go coyote hunting, predator hunting. And I'm like, heck yeah.
Sounds like a good time.
Oh my gosh. So I was messaging them, and they're like, you know what? We want to take you out hunting before we do the podcast so you can understand what it's about. I'm like, heck yeah, let's roll. So we're going to plan a day. Like I said, it's busy this last weekend with 4th of July stuff. And I was gone to Wisconsin Dells with the basketball team. We do a tournament out there every year. And so maybe sometime in the near future we'll be able to get out and do some coyote hunting. But what's the buck forecast look like for you guys this year out there?
We got a couple decent bucks on camera already. We had a really nice 10-pointer show up late last season, and we hadn't seen that buck all year, and he kind of showed up and pretty consistently, and then he kind of dropped out like every 5-6 days maybe he would show up again, and then maybe it was like a week and we spent a significant amount of time trying to find the sheds at the end of the year, and we never did, but we're pretty sure one of the bucks that showed up already is because this 10 he's thick, he's tall, not super wide, but and this buck that's on camera right now kind of matches that profile from last year. So we're thinking it's him. And then we had another one. Was just showing Joe last night. Pretty nice. It's probably, I don't know. It had. Well, I didn't even count all the points on it, but it looked like it probably had 10, 11 pointer maybe.
10, yeah.
Yeah. It might have had a split brow or something, or not brow, but kicker coming off or something. But yeah, so we got those ones. That's on one of our properties, and then we got a couple nice up and coming 8-pointers out at the new land. Might let them go this year. We'll see what happens. It's so hard to judge when they're in velvet yet. I mean, they might look like giants in velvet, and all of a sudden they lose that velvet, and all of a sudden they're not really that buck that you were thinking that they were. And but that's what's fun about it.
That's one thing, like you said, like when it comes to velvet pictures. Don't get your hopes up too soon, people. When you get your trail camera photos coming in, it's like, oh, what's this one going to be, or this or that. You can tell a lot of times if a buck is going to be a good-sized buck, if you see that it's getting really wide, and I'm talking like out towards the end of the ears where that main beam is really getting out there. And then the other thing is, when people ask me, well, how much more do you think he's going to grow? Just pay attention to the end of those main beams and points and stuff. If they're kind of balled up yet, that means they're really going to push out a lot. But if they look kind of pencil thin to some degree, well, then they're probably going to slow down. But, there are some good deer that I've seen in the past where they're not super thick, but yet they still get a good frame on them. A person I know, I won't say who it was, but showed me a trail camera picture. He's like, Joe, get over here. I got to show you this. I love this time of year. They're like, get over here. I got to show you this. People are just chomping at the bit to show their trail camera photos. But he goes, here, look at this here. And I kid you not, if I made a fist, right, that's what it looked like at the end of his main beam yet.
Jeez.
I mean, just a freaking baseball bat at the end of his main beam. So you know that he's going to push out a lot more. And that area always produces, Boone and Crockett bucks where this person was showing me where this buck was. But I haven't gotten my cameras out. I was talking to my cousin Josh the other day, and he finally broke down. I think maybe he's done it before, but he finally bought a solar panel for his camera. He's like, man, these things are nice.
Oh, yeah.
It's always tough to front the money to buy a solar panel. But I'll tell you what, he goes, I've had that out, and it's taken like 3,000 pictures, and it still shows the battery's 100%.
Right.
And that's what's nice, especially with cell cameras. If you have a solar panel, you know how much those batteries drain when you have it on cell mode and it's sending to you. Those batteries drain so fast, so if you can get a solar panel on there, I mean, I highly recommend it. Like I said, it's $50, $60 for that solar panel, but you're going to save a lot of money.
For sure.
You put one set of batteries in there, and that's probably going to last you the entire season. Where if you have it on cell mode and you're sending pictures, you're probably going to switch it out 2 to 3 times for sure, depending on what your settings are on. That's the thing too, is when you run a solar panel, you don't have to say, well, one picture every 15 minutes.
Right,
you can save one picture every 30 seconds, and your batteries are going to stay really good throughout the entire year. So that's the benefit of using that solar panel. So if you feel like you're missing deer, or you're like, oh, dang it, what should I put this setting on? I got to try to preserve the batteries. Well, go get a solar panel and crank up the amount of pictures you're taking, because we all love getting those pictures.
Right, for sure. And actually, like, even to our topic of the day today, you got a solar panel on there. You're not going out in the woods bringing your scent out there. You're not out there scaring anything off the because you don't have to go and change batteries every couple weeks, so that's going to be an advantage for kind of staying out of the woods a little bit more, on top of having just the cell cams in general. But you don't have to go out there as often to change those batteries.
One thing that I've done on certain properties is I've cut back on trail cameras, and the reason why is, people have talked about it, on other shows and whatnot, and it's just the fact that these deer know what those cameras are. Those cameras are associated with us, and we are a threat, because every camera out there makes some type of noise, and a lot of times people aren't, being as scent cautious as they should be, so they're putting them up with their bare hands or whatever. And there's a correlation there that the deer have made with trail cameras and a threat. And I've seen it before where a person, I think it was Pete, was videotaping a year and a half old buck come in, and he just put the trail camera up that day, and all of a sudden that buck goes up to a trail camera. Excuse me, and he was. That's that stuff I was talking about last night, Mike. It's coming back. But anyways, he was videotaping his deer coming in, and that deer goes right up to the camera and starts sniffing it, and all of a sudden it just gets on pins and needles and takes off. So there's and that deer's 1.5 years old now. When he's 3.5, 4.5, he's gonna know right away. Like, yeah, I don't like that. I'm steering clear of there. And the other reason why I'm gonna kind of limit the amount of trail cameras I'm gonna use is because I think there's. It was kind of like the girls talking yesterday about, they want to open up their Barbies, right, out of their package. Yeah. And then they're so excited to open up this package with the Barbies in there. But as soon as they open it up, it's exciting for the first, I don't know, maybe day.
Right.
And then where does that Barbie end up? On the shelf or on the ground with everything else, Yeah. So that anticipation, that excitement of the anticipation, the optimism, all those things, I think sometimes are much more exciting rather than having nothing come in on trail camera and it's demoralizing. Like, why should I even go out there? Where I think that's what's kind of held me back in previous years of, like, getting out there and there's always that wing and a prayer, right? If the wind is right or whatever, even though you don't have anything on camera, that something could come in, But I kind of want to start getting back to that a little bit more where, you know what, I don't have a trail camera out here, but I know this area is really good. I'm just going to go on there with pure optimism, confidence that something's going to happen. And you know what's crazy, and I've seen it before, where when you go in extremely confident, good things happen. Mm-hmm. And then that's with anything, whether it's sports or whatever. And I think it plays a huge part in hunting as well. If you go into a spot and you say, I ain't going to see anything, how often do you see a really good deer? I mean, it's happened before where, like, this spot is stupid or whatever, and then all of a sudden, the person ends up seeing a good deer. But for the most part, I mean, you go in with high confidence. I've done it numerous times where I've gone to spots that are really good, and I'm really confident, and all of a sudden, boom, there's a deer. Boom, there's a deer. And you just, I don't know. I don't know what that's about, but it happens. There's got to be some merit to that.
Right, for sure.
Confidence helps in the woods. Yeah. I remember one time we were going to a spot. I was maybe a senior in high school, so it's like 04 or so, and I was going out hunting with my two brothers, and I just told them, I said, I got a bad feeling. They said, what's that? I said, something's going to die. I said, something's going to die. And my brother ended up shooting a 162-inch buck. I mean, I just had that feeling that something was going to happen. So I kind of want to bring that back because I don't like going out hunting when I don't have good trail camera pictures. Yeah. And if I could eliminate that thought in my mind, I think that'll help me, be more successful. And that's kind of jumping the gun a little bit, like you said, with our topic. But before we get into our topic of really going into that, there's a big change for you in your area that you've never experienced before.
Yep.
And that it's not going to happen this year, but it's going to happen next year, I think, as how it stands. But they're more than likely going to be eliminating shotguns from your area. I think the counties still have an opportunity to vote yes or no on it.
Yep.
But tell me, first of all, tell me your thoughts and the history with shotguns in your area, and I'll just kind of leave it at that.
Yeah,
what your thoughts are.
Well, the thing is like you grow up doing something, right? You grow up in a way, and shotgun's the only thing that we've ever had, right? So that's all I've ever known, right? So, a good example of that is like Sarah, my wife, coming down and hunting with us, going from a rifle zone to a shotgun zone, was a big change for her too. I'll be honest, like until I met Sarah, I didn't own a rifle, and now we have two of them. So I mean, it's just that we never even thought about using a rifle. As far as the upcoming change, I think it's going to be something you got to get used to. For me, I feel like it could potentially be an advantage. We got a lot of open areas where we hunt. kind of around some food plots, a lot of open area, and not as much hardwoods. And so, but it's going to be a learning curve for me. I shoot open sights on my shotgun, so I don't even use a scope, And
Oh, wow.
so the perfect example of that is I actually was practicing. My uncle's got a crossbow, so I took it out late season, and I put it on a doe and pulled the trigger, and my arrow went off to the left-hand side, and I hit just the tiniest little branch, And as someone that's not used to using a scope, those little things you don't always see, and so it'll be a learning curve, but I don't know. I think it'll be good. We got 3 different properties, and all of them I think will be pretty advantage. We'll have an advantage for being able to use a rifle. I think right away my mind goes to, and Joe kind of talked about this morning, just, it can be even kind of a misconception about like safety wise. Everyone kind of thinks, well, rifles, they can shoot a lot farther. But really when it comes down to it, it's the hunter, right? And knowing what's behind your target and those kind of things. So I don't know, I'm excited. Something new, and but definitely going to be a change. Like it's, not something that I'm familiar with, and I'll be honest, I haven't even shot either of the 2 rifles that we have, so I'm gonna definitely need to do some practicing with my weapon before that season comes, next year.
So we were discussing. I read this. I think the Minnesota DNR put this out. I even asked Mike this morning, and it was my assumption as well. Why shotgun zones were created? And you think about the shotgun zones, it's big, wide open country, and the first thing you think about is safety. That's probably why they created those shotgun zones. But the number one reason why they created shotgun zones is because the deer numbers were really low, and you can't reach out as far obviously with a shotgun as you can with a rifle. So they created shotgun zones to help build the deer herd. So you look at, what's going to happen now to the deer herd? Is it going to, those numbers going to go down now? The deer harvest is going to go up, and I have mentioned this before, where when the state sits there and says, record harvest or whatever, I don't like that when that is put out there, and people always get fired up about, heck yeah, there was 200 or 300,000 deer shot, yes, and in my mind I'm like, no.
right.
And there's like we talked about earlier, we just need to do a better job of harvesting does and not get so caught up on going out there for the buck all the time. And that's the one thing that'll help us as hunters keep our deer herd in check. If we just go out there and continue to blast bucks year after year after year, we're only hurting our deer herd. We need to be able to manage those does to keep our deer herd in check. But just know that the reason why shotgun zones were created is to help build the deer herd. So now that the state is transitioning to rifle statewide, basically, because I don't know if there are some counties out there that are going to shut her down and stay shotgun, but that's the number one reason why is that they needed to build the deer herd, so they went shotgun, so there was more deer that could survive. Because I always thought, too, I'm like, well, southwest Minnesota is really wide open, and they have to use shotgun. I was like, well, out west, it's wide open,
Sure.
And they can use rifle. So that's what kind of got me thinking, like, well, is it really a safety thing? But it wasn't. They said it was the main reason why is to build that deer herd. So just know that moving forward. And even myself, I try to take a doe myself off my property each year. And, it's one of those things where when you talk to people, well, what'd you guys do? Well, we shot 5 bucks and so shot a fawn. It's
right.
You guys gotta, we all have to do our part and help keep the deer herd balanced by taking some does. And you know what? I tell you what, there's nothing better than going out with a group of guys on a doe hunt.
Right.
Because somebody's going to crack something
right.
or get an opportunity, I should say. We've had opportunities to go out there. We've gone out there before too on a doe hunt, and we're like, somebody's going to fling an arrow. Well, little did we know I was going to fling an arrow right through a window and miss a doe. But yeah, so it'll be interesting with that change to see what happens. But I'll tell you what, the pictures that I've seen down in shotgun zone versus rifle zone, I've always said, and my cousin and uncle have always said, like, man, the state did the opposite of what we would have loved them to do.
Right,
we would have loved the whole
shotgun, right?
we would have loved the whole state to go
Right,
shotgun,
right,
so that I mean, just seeing the pictures from shotgun zones versus rifle, and I mean, yeah, there are some good bucks in rifle zones. Don't get me wrong, but the amount of big bucks I've seen in shotgun zones is absolutely insane. Right. I mean, that one we saw last year was 190 inch.
Oh, for sure.
And then it was on a mineral site with a 160 inch and then a 140 inch.
Right. You think about what's going to walk out behind it. Oh, okay, yeah, okay, that one's just as big, and then there's another one standing there that I would have taken. I would have taken the smallest one out of the group. I mean, they were all nice, but yeah, it's that's been, like I said, it's been something I've always been part of. So I've had to get deer within a shorter distance in order to shoot them. But I mean, even the technology now with shotguns, I mean, there's some shotguns that can get out there a lot farther than they used to. So I think as technology, evolves with weapons and even bullets, there's a lot you can do with either or. So
let me ask you this: even though they're going to rifle, are you gonna go to rifle, or are you going to stay shotgun?
That's a good question, Joe. I actually was just thinking about that as I was sitting here. I don't know. If I think about it, like, so one of our properties is a lot of hardwoods, right? I feel I'd have more of an advantage just where I sit to shoot with shotgun. But our other two properties that are more wide open and around those food plots and kind of those open fields, open areas, I would definitely probably pull out the rifle on those. But
I could see that being myself too. Like, okay, if I'm going to go out in the big open ag field, I'll bring a rifle. Yep. But if I'm going in the woods in the thick timber, we're pulling out that shotgun again.
Right, yeah. And is that how it's kind of going to be set up? I mean, or do you have to? Is it just going to be gun general, or is it going to just you have to? I don't know. I didn't read into it that much to see if it's if you have to specify what weapon you're using. I don't know. Maybe.
So here's the other thing is that there's been two major rule changes here a couple years ago, and then moving forward into the shotgun. Obviously, the legalization of crossbows for everybody, but then on top of that, the shotguns now. Why? I mean. There's not everybody. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of people that listen to this podcast that are meat hunters, and I'm totally fine with that. I'm a meat hunter too.
Yeah.
Like I said, the last 4 deer I've shot have been does. But people always say, we can't move the season because of tradition. It's the first weekend of November. That's the way it's always been. Well, guess what? It's always been archery is archery, not archery is crossbow.
Right. Yeah.
And it's always been shotgun zone. Versus, in my mind, I don't know when that rule was created.
I think it was an 87-year-old rule or something.
Yeah.
I had heard. Like, I mean, that's
so guess what? That was a tradition.
Yeah.
So when it comes to, people saying, well, we can't move the season because of tradition here in the state of Minnesota, baloney. You know what I mean? Like, you've just made two major rule changes to take out, more deer. That's the whole point of these rule changes is to take out more deer. And those were traditions that we've had for many years. Now all of a sudden we can change it. Well, why can we change those and not the season, the opening day of the season? And obviously there's a lot of factors there. But when it comes to other rule changes, and I hear people say, well, that's tradition. Well, give me a break because there's a lot of things that were tradition, and those got changed because of the almighty dollar.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what it is.
Exactly.
It's what it comes down to. It's not because of tradition. It's because of the almighty dollar, and we all know it, but that's kind of what they hide behind is
for sure.
saying, well, it's tradition. And This is what people want. Well, is it? I don't know. Maybe.
Maybe you should listen to,
Well, what I've said too about, people will say, well, it gets colder. Well, first of all, Minnesota really hasn't been that cold compared to previous years. Back in the day, when I even started hunting, it was the question was always, is there going to be snow? And now the question always is, how damn hot is it going to be for
you're out
the
there
opener?
in shorts
You know
and
what
a
I mean?
t-shirt underneath your camo.
So, a lot of things have changed, and then technology that's out there with apparel and box stands. Everywhere you drive, there's a box stand.
For sure.
You know what I mean? So,
actually, if we went over here to this field back here, there's a box stand out there.
Is there?
Yeah, right out back over here. Yeah.
And I liked what somebody posted on, I can't remember what Facebook site it was on, but they said, the people that sit there and complain and say we can't push the season back because it gets too cold, those are the same people that are out there late January, early February on a 5-gallon bucket ice fishing. You know what I mean? So that's, I don't know. It's just kind of one of those things where people always say, tradition. Well, there's two big traditions that were just tossed out the door and revamping things to satisfy people, I guess you could say, for, like I said, the almighty dollar. But it is what it is, and those are the rules. And whatever you decide to do, like I said, my take is on everything. If it's legal and you want to do it, go for it. I don't hold anything against anyone that uses crossbows. Do I think able-bodied young people should be using crossbows? Probably not, but that's your choice.
Yeah.
But that was my tradition. That's
right.
we were with.
I feel like at least you gotta use a compound bow for a little while, get one kill under your belt or something, just to kind of have that experience. It's
not only the
just
experience, the appreciation.
Right?
Yeah,
Right? Yep.
The appreciation of having to do so many things to pull back.
Right.
Which is going to lead me into my next. The main topic of the day is we've been on a little bit of a buck drought here lately. And we're thinking of different strategies and different things that we're going to try to do this year to hopefully end that drought. And I'll let you go first, Mike, on
Sure.
things you're thinking about doing this upcoming season to hopefully end your drought.
Well, I like to look at it as, this isn't just here comes fall, time to hunt. It's a year-long process of trying to do the right things to get the deer where you need them, to figure out where they're going. That scouting is so important. And so that's a big piece of it, right? But you can scout so much, whether it's trail cams out there, whether you get out there and see them in person. But then it's really like narrowing down the behavior, right? So figuring out the patterns and where they're going. And so thinking about that, I see Joe's over here writing in a notebook, and I think I got for Christmas maybe 2 years ago, I got this little hunter's journal. And so this year, I want to start recording my hunts, writing down the different things I'm noticing, the different, writing down what the wind is that night, what the pressure is, and all those things, and just kind of being more mindful of what it is that's happening on that day. How many, maybe like I was talking about that buck earlier, every so many days he showed up again on there. So where's he going in the meantime, right? And so like just kind of being more mindful of figuring out patterns and knowing where those deer are. So that's something I definitely want to do a little bit more of this year. And then you got the memory too, right? Now you can look back and once you get that kill, now you can look back and kind of tell that story, right? And I think that's something that I don't do enough. I go out there and sometimes it's because you're rushed and you get out there and you're ready to go. But another thing that I was talking to Joe this morning is we got taking a look at your land and thinking outside the box. Like, what can I do to hold more deer in this area? And one of the things one of the ideas that I brought up, we've got a lot of rain this summer, a lot of rain, sometimes 1.5 inches, 2 inches at a time. And so we had one of our properties used to be like a kind of slough area, and now we got a food plot in there. And we're looking at, there's tons of water down in the bottom. And so we're looking at making it a permanent water hole. And so just being able to hold those deer in that location, they can come for water. They got the food right there. It's covered. I mean, it's pretty thick woods around there, and so thinking outside the box is going to be something that I want to do too. And then just just being
What are some of those things that you're talking
thinking
about?
outside the box.
Outside the box.
Well, that water hole, and then just we always try to kind of figure out. So, for example, like I said, we hunt a lot of big egg fields that we have for food plots. We have like a 40-acre parcel that has a 9-acre, 10-acre food plot on it. And so just kind of thinking about how can we make those deer feel safe when they step out and not stay back in the woods. And so one of the things that on one of our properties that we're looking at doing is getting a food plot in the woods before they come out, because sometimes those big bucks will hang out right in the edge of that woods until right at dark, and they'll come out in the last 5 minutes. And so that's one thing that we want to start to do too. I think another thing, just thinking outside the box, is just finding new spots. I feel like I know there's stands that I'm always going to go to, and
that are going to produce.
But it also puts a lot of pressure on that area too.
Yep.
And so like being able to figure out bedding areas, being able to figure out where these deer, where the corridors are that they're traveling through to get to certain areas, finding those thick covered areas, like where are they coming out? Can we get something in, can we get a stand up in there, a blind up in there somewhere? So really like thinking outside the box on where we're sitting. I think I always use this quote about you do good because it's what you know, and then once you know better, then you do better, right? And so I think this year just kind of maybe not always relying on that one stand, or kind of figuring out, how can I get somewhere else? I know there's deer traveling through this area. How do I get there? And then even figuring out, do I need to cut more trails? Do I need to cut trails to get there, so I can get in there quietly and safe, and make sure that those deer aren't seeing it.
I think like you're talking about those hot spots, right? The best stand. Everybody wants that best stand, and you hear so many times where there will be a person that says, yeah, you can have the best stand. This is where we're getting all the trail camera photos. I'll take the least desired stand, and I'm going to go hunt over there. And who ends up shooting the big deer?
Right.
The person that's over in that crappy stand,
Yep.
Because like you said, you put all that pressure on that good stand.
Yep.
That's going to bump deer away from it,
Mm-hmm.
Depending on when that is. And, obviously that's what everybody always says, and I've done it myself. First time in is the best time in, and you end up shooting something. So yeah, that's actually one of the things I have on my list too, is to be a little more mobile this year.
Yep.
But I think with you guys and your property, I think there, especially Doc's property, is a property that you guys are going to continue to learn for the next, forever.
Oh, for sure.
Because it's so diverse. There's spots that you guys haven't hunted before. You guys are playing around with food plots now because you guys finally have ownership of it, where you can do so many more things, where before you were you had to stay inside that box, right?
Mm-hmm,
Now you can explore a little bit more. But I think, like you said, being more mobile, and I think the one thing that you're going to have to dive into a little bit is maybe even buying a setup where, whether your dad and yourself going on, or your brother or whatever, and just buying a really good light setup, and then just say, you know what, I'm going to go try that tree tonight.
Sure.
And then just get 3 steps off the ground and get up in there, 3 sticks off the ground, get up in there and just sit and see, more of those like observation sits. But yeah, that, to me, that property is going to produce a 170 plus deer. Like, to me, it seems like there should be a 170 plus deer, because you got good area around you as well.
Yep.
Where a lot of deer can make it through, like a 170 every 5 to 10 years.
Oh, for sure.
I feel like.
Yep.
It's a really good area, and there's a lot of good potential there. There's ridges, there's swamps. You guys have food in there now. There's orchards around
there's
you.
tons of stuff.
There's
Yeah,
a lot of
it's
stuff.
really,
So I think that will be something that I think could bring you some success as time goes on here. But yeah, I think those are some great ideas. Anything else you're gonna try to do this year?
I don't know. You always have to,
Use a crossbow.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Dad got one now, but he's put in his time. He deserves that. And his shoulders, not
No
what
doubt.
it used to be, and
No doubt.
So it'll be good to see him be able to use that, and he's pretty excited about that.
Yeah.
I think just being smart, right? I mean, just getting out there when I should get out there, right? Making sure I got the right wind. A lot of times I'm limited to when I can get out, and I might have to get to a property, and I get there a little late because I'm coming from I'm coming from school or something, and so it's a quick grab my stuff, get out, and sometimes it's the best stand I can get to, and it maybe isn't the best stand to be in as far as wind, and I go sit there, and I hope that the scent control that I use is good enough for that. But so just being mindful of when I'm getting out, and then just like I said, I liked we were just talking about even observation hunts, just getting out in a stand. Maybe it's not the stand I really want to go to that night because it's not. It doesn't always produce a whole lot of deer, but like you said, maybe that's the stand that the deer will come by, and you don't even know that they're coming by there. And so, just being more observant, getting out there and at the right time, and then being patient.
Yeah,
patience is tough, and so hopefully that'll be something that helps end the drought.
Right. Well, I'm gonna kind of recap last year, because last year I had a hell of a year in two different aspects, I guess you could say. A hell of a year as far as battling my back issue.
Yeah.
I mean, that was absolutely brutal. But last year I saw the most wall hangers that I've ever seen in my life on stand, and I'd never closed the deal on one of them.
Yeah.
One of them, I only flung an arrow at one, and that was out in South Dakota. And this buck, it was a morning hunt, and it was that middle October, and I don't usually hunt mornings middle October, but it was our last day out there, and I'm like, you know what? I might as well just go out there and try in the morning.
Yep.
Kind of like we were talking about.
Yep.
Just
Yep.
say the heck with it
On
and
a
go.
whim, get out. Yep.
And so the heck with it, I'm going to go out there and hunt this spot. And all of a sudden I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh, there's a little buck coming in, and then all of a sudden right behind him, I'm like, there's Daddy. Yes, sir. So they're coming in and right down the trail that they were supposed to come down, and all of a sudden these coyotes start yelping way in the background, and they were about a mile away. And those deer just got skittish, and they kind of took off run and trot, and then I went in panic mode, right? And I pulled back, and I had that area ranged, and it was about 40, and I let the arrow fly, and I shot right underneath them. Well, I did exactly what I wasn't supposed to do.
Yeah.
And I didn't shoot my bow, when we got out there. And I was frustrated because I'm like, God, I had that pin right on that deer. And I'm like, I get back to the yard, I'm shooting my bow, see what's going on. And I shot it, and I was shooting like 8 inches low at 40. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I had that thing right on him. I just messed up. I didn't do my due diligence and shoot my bow, and we got out there. And a lot of times it's because you get out there and it's late already or whatever, and then you just kind of put it on the back burner. So that was the one arrow that I flung. So that was one of the bucks that I would have put on the wall. And then this last year back here in Minnesota, I said, you know what, I'm going to sit in a spot that I've never sat before. And I'm going to sit in a spot that nobody would ever sit. Like, I'm just going to do it. You hear about that before, some of the most random spots, you can have success. First time in this spot, and I hopped in that spot, and I'm sitting there, and like I said, with my back issue, I couldn't go far into the woods, and I ended up buying a mobile setup that was really light. And I was like, the only way I'm going to be able to hunt this year is if I buy a really light setup. So I bought a really, really light stand and really, really light climbing sticks. And I was like, like I said, this is the only way I can do it. So I'm going for it. So I invested in it, which is a pretty penny, but I'm able to do a lot more now. And I go into this spot. I mean, I bet I walked off the road 40 yards max, and I only had about 40 minutes, if that, of hunting light left, legal hunting light left. And I hopped up in the stand, and I kid you not, the bottom of my stand, I think I put 2 sticks. I think I went 2 sticks up and hung my stand. When I came down and took my stand down, I was standing on the ground taking my stand down, right? So I wasn't that high off the ground. But anyways, I hop in the stand, and I catch movement. And I'm like, oh, there's a deer. Oh, cool. You know, I just hopped in the stand, and all of a sudden, boom, there's a deer.
Yep.
And I'm sitting there watching it, and I'm putting the camera on it, and I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden I see a little bit of an antler on my camera, on my lens. I'm like, oh, geez, that's a buck. I'm like, I'm going to grab my grunt tube and grunt at him a little bit, because it was later October, not the prime time October. It was, you know, probably like that October 23rd-ish or so, somewhere around there. Anyways, I hit the grunt call, and I could see him, like, kind of sparring with another deer, or he was making a rub or something. Anyways, I see his tail, kind of just that slow tail wagging back and forth as he walked away, and I'm like, ah, dang it, you know, oh, well, whatever. Well, I get home, and I pull up the footage on the computer, and I'm like, you gotta be freaking kidding me. And I kid you not, this buck, he had split brow tines, some, you know, funky points or whatever. This deer is probably right around that 150 inches. And like I said, I just went into a spot that I haven't hunted before. Yep. And all of a sudden, boom, there it was. So that's why I kind of brought that up to you. Just go try a random spot that you've never hunted before. Right. You know, well, it's too close to a house. I have a spot like that at my place, too, where I'm like, I think this would be a good spot right here on the backside of my lawn. It kind of cuts back in. There's a pond right there. I'm like, I should put a little clover plot here, maybe a little scrape, you know, this and that. And my intentions are to do that, you know. And what's going to happen is I'm going to say, all right, Harper, this is your first time going out hunting by yourself. I'm just going to bring you back here by the pond, sit here, and watch. She's going to end up shooting something decent, you know what I mean?
Which is awesome.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah. So that was my second encounter with a big deer last year. And then after that, after my back surgery, I was able to get back out to South Dakota, and I knew this spot was going to be good. And that was one of those things where we were running trail cameras, and that just amplified things, you know, in my mind. I'm like, this is going to be great. And as soon as the sun came up, I caught movement, and there was the biggest buck we had on trail camera coming in already. I'm like, holy Lord, let's go. This is over. This is a done deal. Well, where I was sitting was there's like this creek bottom that comes through, and then it Y's, right? And I'm sitting in between, like in the opening where the Y splits. I'm like in that open area where the Y splits. I'm not right at that intersection. I'm off in the distance just a little bit so I can shoot both sides, right?
Yep.
And it just so happened that buck stayed on that line where it split, and he stayed out about 100 yards, and I bet he came in twice that day. And he's like, I don't know, he's got to be 21 inches wide, 8-pointer. I mean, this thing is just a tank. So he comes in, he stays out of range. This 7-pointer comes in that I would throw up on the wall. Yeah. He comes in. He came in twice that day as well. He was dogging a doe, and this doe comes busting out of these cattails right at me, right underneath. I mean, if she would take a half step more, she would have slammed right into the ladder of my stand. And she kind of peeled off, and I'm like, okay, he's going to come right in here. And what's he do? He stays out 56 yards, and he stops right there broadside. But he knew something was up. He was on pins and needles. Yep. And the doe ended up stopping and staring me down, so I was kind of handcuffed. So that deer comes in, He takes off, goes the other direction. Another nice 8-pointer come in later on. I mean, I was covered up in good deer last year. Last year on stand, I saw the biggest deer that I've seen on stand in my entire life, multiple deer. But I wasn't able to close the deal on it. So I made one adjustment this year out there where that little creek bottom comes in, and right at the split, we moved my stand right there.
Okay.
Because all those deer came in right on that trail or that creek bottom, and then they split. They either went left or they went right. Well, I'm right at that intersection now. So that's one improvement or one adjustment that I made to hopefully close the deal this year. But then also maybe to help those chances, I'm going to continue to find spots that nobody else would hunt.
Sure.
You know, and whether it's my brother or my cousins or whatever, you know, just picking that random spot that they've never hunted before or on permission properties that I have. You know what? This is a little close to the house or the farm or whatever, but I'm still going to hunt it. I'm still going to sit here. So I'm going to be a lot more mobile, and with that setup that I have, it's going to help me a lot. But I think another thing for myself is I'm going to continue to – this has helped me out. Look back at those trail camera photos of the previous year. Like you were talking about studying the current data. I'm going to continue to go back and look at the previous data. And like you were talking about the journal and the trail camera photos, I highly recommend right now what I've done in the past where all of a sudden, you know, it's daylight out early, you know, so whatever, it's 5:30 in the morning, it's daylight, 6 o'clock. I'll get up and I'll just go to my trail cameras because I haven't really picked my trail cameras apart hardcore from last year. Go back and look at those dates. Write down those dates when those bucks came in. There's a reason why they're coming in during that time frame. Whether it's a hot doe, whether it's a food source or whatever, there's a reason why those deer, maybe they are living on your property. But go back and study those dates because a lot of times they'll repeat those things year after year. I know one of the examples was last summer I found 2 newborn fawns. They were born that night because they were still wet and they could hardly walk and their ears were like still wet, so they weren't able to pick them up all the way. So then I went back. I think it's 201 days since the doe has been bred to when they have their fawns. So I went back and like 201 days, and I went through my trail camera photos, and sure enough, it was like 200 days prior to that. On video, I got this buck running through, just grunting as loud as he could, right past the trail camera. I'm like, there's that previous data. So this last year, I wasn't able to be out there for that time frame because I was laid up. But that's the stuff. That's the stuff I kind of look for is that previous data, and that's why it's good to track that. But yeah, I think those were some good learning points for me last year on trying new spots, and don't be afraid to do that. You know, like you said, don't go to that good spot all the time. And a good spot might be in November, not in October.
You're right.
So you got to find those different good spots for that certain time frame. The last thing, I mean, there's a lot of things. Like I said, I'm not going to hang up as many trail cameras. I like the optimism. I like not knowing and going into it. I think there's a lot to be said about that. I think that's one strategy that I'm really looking forward to this year. But the last thing I want to mention was you were talking about a journal, and that just kind of brought back the thought that I have here. I think we were at Pizza Ranch up in Baxter or something, and all of a sudden I saw this little book that was camouflaged, and it's about a 4-inch by 3-inch book, and it's camouflage. It's the Bible, and I grabbed one of those because they were free. So whoever donated those for people to take, I appreciate that. But I'm putting that in my bag this year.
Yeah.
And I'm going to bring that with, and my goal is to do some reading out in the stand every time I get out there to do exactly what you were talking about, really soak things in.
Yeah.
Instead of sitting there scrolling on my phone and getting caught up in, man, am I going to get a deer? I'm just going to reflect on the reason why we're here.
For sure.
And have this opportunity. So, like I said, thanks to whoever put those out there, because I'm going to bring that with in my backpack and just keep it with and just kind of like I said, soak everything in and just be extremely appreciative of the opportunity that we have to be sitting here on your deck right now, be out in the woods, to be able to go out and hunt. And, with 4th of July this last weekend, and just kind of gets me thinking outside the box like you're talking about, instead of getting so much in that tunnel vision of hunting, just kind of taking a step back and reflecting on the real reason why we're here and the great opportunities that we have here on Earth. And that's one adjustment I'm going to make this year. That's my number one key, my number one goal this year is to make sure that I get through most of that this hunting season. Sure. that Bible. So
that's awesome.
That's my key. So with that, you got anything else to add, Mike? Otherwise, we'll wrap this baby up.
I just want to. You talked about going out of state, do some hunting. That's something that obviously I did for turkey hunting, but not for deer. And so that's another way to potentially end that drought, is by getting out of state and finding other places to hunt too, just to give you more of an opportunity, right? And so that might be something too to think about moving forward. But no, I think it's going to be a great year, and it's fun because the kids want to go out now, and like you mentioned, Harper going out, and it's just that goes back to you're talking about why we do what we do. It's just it's all about family. I always like to reiterate that point is it's not just out there hunting. It's a lifelong bond that you create with family and friends, and we are very lucky to have that opportunity to do those things. So
definitely. All right, you guys. Well, we appreciate you guys listening. And till next time, you guys take care. Well, thanks for listening this week, you guys. Like I tell you every time, we truly do appreciate you guys tuning in. And this time of year for me is one of the most exciting times of the year, kind of like I was talking about, where I don't necessarily like using trail cameras all the time because I like being optimistic and thinking confidently, and trail cameras can be pretty demoralizing for confidence at times. But this is that time of year where people are sharing trail camera photos with us, and we're getting food plot stuff ready to go and all those good things. And I don't know, it's just, this is one of my favorite times of the year, is just that leading up to it. And I hope you guys are getting just as excited as we are. And just hopefully some of these things that we talked about today will kind of spark some different ideas. Maybe it wasn't exactly what we talked about that we're going to do, but maybe just fuels the fire for you guys to think outside the box a little bit on what you guys are doing, and maybe to implement some different strategies to either help you be successful once again or end the drought like we're in right now. So I don't know, I just kind of wanted to do this episode for a while, and I was going to do it by myself, but we're down here with my sister and her husband and Mike and their kids, and I'm going to wrap this up here so we can get the girls out in the pool and they can enjoy the day, because it's supposed to be 86 today, and that sun's finally creeping around the house here and starting to heat me up a little bit. So we're going to wrap this thing up just by thanking you guys, our listeners. Like I mentioned too, if you guys would please, leave us a 5-star rating, share our content with other people. If it's not through your social media, just tell people about us, and maybe recommend one of our episodes that we've done that might pertain to them, or just throw it out there for other people to listen to, because the more people that listen, the more people can hear and kind of help us keep us motivated to put out more content, because we really do enjoy doing this. And I appreciate the people that have reached out and want to do podcasts with me. We're going to have some good ones coming up here. I think I got about 4 people lined up. It's just a matter of locking down a date and just going for it, because it's a lot of fun doing this here. I got to set a bunch of stuff up, but once we get going, it's always fun talking outdoors with people. So thank you guys first for everything you guys do, and then on top of that, all of our partners, Arctic Shield, Domain Outdoor, J&R Outdoors, Skullcraft, The Fish Guide, Tacticam, and also Fourth Aerial Camera Arms. I hope you guys are enjoying the summer. Get fired up. Hunting season's almost here. Thanks for listening.